You're watching the 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Senior. No matter where you're watching or how you're watching, thanks so much for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up on the docket, we'll get to the latest on Deebo Samuel, Jimmy Garoppolo. Going to take a look at the top available NFL free agents following the NFL draft. Also, 2 mailbags where I take all of your questions. And after we're done here on YouTube as well as Rumble, going live exclusively on Call-In for our second live podcast where you are going to be able to hop into the caller queue and ask me questions on the call-in line so that we can interact and continue to talk all things Niners. We'll get the show started officially here in about 10 minutes, but first, let's get the comment section flowing. Grade the Niners draft for me. Following the draft on Saturday, we did a draft grades video. I gave the Niners a B. Where do you stand on what San Francisco was able to do in the NFL draft? Let me know in the comment section right now, and I'll be certain to give you some shout-outs. I think what they did was pretty solid. Nothing too crazy, nothing too disastrous, fulfilling positions of need. I think in a lot of instances, they went best player available. So A, B, C, D, or F, what are you going with? And I'll give you some shout-outs. The comment section is popping already. Edson Dart, Mamba G33K, Brandon Roan, Angel Cassiano. Thanks to all of you for contributing to the show. Angel's going with a B. Rara is a B. Mando saying out. Edson Dart, B. BK from the Bay, what up, man? Going B as well. Manasseh, B. Tyson Ayu, B. Dubs riding with an A. Zach Bowen, C. And I can see why a lot of people would say C because it wasn't a sexy draft by any means. Fluffy Ninja, C. Trenton Rossi, B. Solid B from Daniel Trujillo. Black Boy 108, B. A. Edwards, B. Lavelle Forrest, A. Camp 71 going B as well. So it seems as though a lot of people are with me in that B range. No A's, at least not many of them. Danny Hayes going A, but in that B to C range, that's where the faithful's at. Who was your favorite Niners draft pick? I like Drake Jackson. I like his athleticism. I like his bend coming around the corner. Watched a scouting breakdown from Brian Baldinger, and I thought he did a really good job conveying what Drake Jackson can bring to the field. He's not my favorite pick, though. Danny Gray, my favorite pick. He is electric after the catch. So let me know who your favorite draft pick was. Justin Rose, Danny Gray. Dubs, Danny Gray. Edson Dart, Danny Gray. It's almost like you guys watched the 49ers Report. Ron Hillard, Drake. Ken Martin, Drake. Ra-Ra, Danny Gray. Ty Davis Price, nobody's saying that because it was a little bit of a reach. Dubs, Deebo. Yeah, keeping Deebo was almost like a nice little draft storyline. Jackson from Rael. Matt Golden Corral from Y Big Jordan. I think you just wanted to say Golden Corral there. Very catchy, though. BK from the Bay. Danny Gray. Brandon Turner going Drake. Shades of Gray. Danny Hayes. 50 Shades of Gray. Movie's interesting. If you get down with 50 Shades of Gray, type Y or type N. Tom Downey giving me the bunk. It was a movie. So after the 49ers Report goes live on YouTube and Rumble, for the second time, we're going to be doing a live podcast on Call-In. I want all of you watching right now, as we approach 200 people watching live concurrently, to join me on the Call-In app. Why is that? Because they're a big supporter of what we do. And also, I want to show the bosses and show the Call-In executives that the Niner Gang shows out. After we posted that live podcast, more than 100 people have watched it since it went up on the feed on Saturday, and we're trying to overtake that audience tonight. So all of you watching, going live on Call-In after the show. What is it? An interactive podcast app where you can call me and we can talk voice to voice instead of me just reading your messages. So chatsports.com/49ers Call-In, plug in that link. Subscribe to the 49ers Report. Harrison Graham was live on Chicago Bears Now earlier, and we're trying to do the same in terms of success. So chatsports.com/49ers Call-In, and that link will be available in the description as well as the comment section of this video. Are you going to be watching the Giants game from Trenton Rossi? Possibly, but tonight, NBA playoffs. We have Celtics, Bucks, and we have Warriors going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, two very good playoff series. So in addition to going live on Call-In, where I'll be taking your calls, I'll be taking your questions through our two mailbags right here on the 49ers Report Live. Couple ways for you to get involved, hashtag 49ers or Super Chat. If you want to donate to the channel, we'd greatly appreciate that. That's the Super Chat function. If not, use the hashtag 49ers. Therefore, producer, the homie, Marshall Green, will be able to see your questions. He'll pop them up on the screen for you. If you're ready to start today's show, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. As always, here on the 49ers Report, a loaded show coming your way, getting to the latest on Deebo Samuel, as well as Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to be doing two mailbags where I take all of your 49ers-related questions. We'll take a look at the top free agents left, who the 49ers can sign following the NFL draft, because right now, there are some needs on this 49ers roster, like at that safety spot. I'm a big proponent of bringing back Jaquiski Tartt. I think that he'd be an excellent addition to this secondary. And then after our show on YouTube as well as Rumble, we will be going live on Call-In, where you can hop into the caller queue, onto the call-in line, and we can chop it up, and I can answer all of your questions. I'm seeing that in the preview screen. I'm not sure that's the start of the video, Marsh, the little preview screen there. In the meantime, I'll give you some shout-outs. Talon Shaw, Joe Caterly, LFG, Curtis Richardson, Hitman L, BK from the Bay, Lucis, Luscious, Danny Gray, pick 105, in my opinion, is a good replacement for the departed Marquise Goodwin, a speedy slot receiver that can go deep. Do you agree? I think that's an awesome question and very good analysis. I do agree with you. Are we good? Cool. All right, let's get to the latest on Deebo Samuel as well as Jimmy Garoppolo. A $2 super chat coming in from Daniel. We'll get to that a little bit later. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. If you're ready to start today's show, what'd you say? No, because we'll go live on Call-In. 157 people watching live. Hit that thumbs up icon if you're ready to start today's show. I need at least 60 likes before we start the show. What'd you say? Yeah, Daniel gave us a super chat. We'll get to that in a mailbag. Still going to be available? Yeah? If not, we can just pop it up right now if you think that's easier. Daniel with the $2 super chat, he said, I appreciate your daily dedication, brother. I think we're going to get that up on the screen before we start as a shout-out to you for being a loyal subscriber, a loyal viewer of the 49ers Report. Here you go. $2 super chat from Daniel. Appreciate your daily dedication, brother. Hey, this is what we do. My motto, grind and hustle. That's what I do to bring you the best 49ers news and rumors. Speaking of that, already 80 likes. That's why the faithful is the best. Let's get to the latest on Jimmy Garoppolo as well as Deebo Samuel. All of that and more coming your way right now, live on the 49ers Report. Here we go. You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. Appreciate all of you for making the 49ers Report a part of your day. This is why you subscribe to the channel for free daily videos year-round on the San Francisco 49ers. Okay, let's get to what John Lynch had to say about Deebo Samuel. Did a radio interview on KNBR and said, despite all of these Deebo Samuel trade rumors, him wanting out of San Francisco, he's going to be on this roster in 2022. Do you buy it or not? I'll ask you that right around the corner. But first, here's what Lynch, the general manager for the Niners, had to say about his all-pro player. It's a yes for me, and that's our job. He's just too good of a player. We've got too good of a thing going on with Deebo, and we want to keep that good thing going. I don't think the obstacles are insurmountable. I think we can find a way to a resolution, and we're hopeful for that because we know what he's been to this organization. 36 pick back in 2019 after Nick Bosa, and he's been so good on and off the field. Obviously, Deebo is a tremendous player. He makes us better as a football team. I think we make him better as a player, and we're hopeful that we get everything right and that we're rolling forward with Deebo on this roster. We'll continue to unpack what all of this means and, of course, the A.J. Brown new contract directly impacting what Deebo could get paid. But first, I want to hear from the Niner gang. I want to hear from the faithful in the comment section. Do you believe John Lynch when he says this? Type B for you're a believer, L for you think he's lying, let me know down below. To that A.J. Brown contract, this directly impacts what Deebo could get with his new contract, and hopefully it's with San Francisco. A signing bonus of a little more than $23 million, full guarantees of $40 million. There is an injury settlement in that contract, in that fine writing, so if he does get hurt, he still gets the payout of $57 million. And once the contract extension kicks in, it's an average annual value per year of $25 million. As for his base salary year in and year out, it's actually a pretty good deal for Philadelphia considering how good A.J. Brown is, and maybe the 49ers look at this deal and say, we want to do something similar with Deebo, and maybe Deebo and his camp look at this contract to my right and say, okay, we could certainly make this work. $5.5 million in 2022 jumps up to $9 million. Then it escalates to 28 even in 2024, goes down to $23 million flat in 2025, and then blossoms to $38 million in 2026, a classic backloading of that contract once that trade was made official on night one of the 2022 NFL Draft. So now, this is the updated list of the highest paid wide receivers in terms of guaranteed money. Then we'll get to the highest paid wide receivers per year. And again, Deebo's going to look for something in this neighborhood. Highest paid wide receivers in guaranteed money with their new contracts. Tyreek Hill at 52 plus, Stephon Diggs at a little less than 48, DeAndre Hopkins suspended the first 6 games of the year at a little less than 43, DJ Moore at 41.5, and now A.J. Brown coming in 5th at $40 million even. But per year, A.J. Brown jumps up to 4th ahead of Stephon Diggs, even though he's getting less guaranteed money. Tyreek Hill per year, $30 million. Devontae Adams, 28. DeAndre Hopkins, north of 27. A.J. Brown, right on that $25 million per year mark. And Stephon Diggs at $24 million. Now, I know that Jeremy Fowler of ESPN did say the other day that Deebo is doubling down and he still wants to get traded. This is what I don't understand about Deebo Samuel wanting out of San Francisco. It's like any of us who have a great cushy gig when we're supported by ownership, supported by our general manager, supported by our bosses, and we have a great complimentary cast of coworkers who we like to work with every day and also hang out with outside of work. They bring the best out of us as individuals, and the 49ers bring the best out of Deebo Samuel, including Kyle Shanahan, putting him in positions to succeed on the football field by finding creative ways to scheme him open in the passing game. And when they need a big splash play on the ground, Kyle Shanahan designs a play that allows Deebo Samuel to flourish. And Deebo is due for a big payday, and he's going to get the bag and paid like one of the highest paid wide receivers in the National Football League because of the versatility that he brought to the Niners offense last year, which made him one of the most impactful all-around players in the National Football League. Deebo, you're in a great position in San Francisco. This partnership and relationship can be successful, and it can lead to a lot of great things for many years to come. You'd rather play for San Francisco than the dysfunctional New York Jets or Detroit Lions. I think you should take back your trade demand. Let the Niners pay you. As long as they're willing to pay you what you want, you should return to the Bay and continue to ball out in the scarlet, red, and gold. Because the situation right now, it's perfect for you, and it's perfect for San Francisco. Coming up next on the show, according to Albert Breer, Carolina Panthers still kicking the tires on Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not the only quarterback that they're interested in, though. We'll get to those names and that report on Jimmy G right around the corner. But first, right after our live show right here on YouTube and Rumble, as we go live every single Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. I'm going live for the second time on Call-In. So make sure you subscribe to us on the 49ers Report on Call-In and download the app by plugging in that link down below, chatsports.com/49ers Call-In. What is the Call-In app? I always have the answers for the faithful. They're taking audio and social podcasting to a completely different level. We're going to be doing weekly live shows where you have an opportunity to call into the show. Think of it like Twitter Spaces, but even better and more interactive. So make sure you join us after our live show. We'll continue to plug it all throughout the live broadcast, and subscribe by going to chatsports.com/49ers call in. The link for the live show is in the comment section and the description of this video. Lastly, on the docket for today, Albert Breer on Jimmy Garoppolo, saying that the Carolina Panthers are kicking around the idea of adding a veteran quarterback. That includes Jimmy G and 2 other veterans. One older in Nick Foles, the other younger in Baker Mayfield. This is pretty interesting because Carolina in the NFL draft, the board fell their way to a certain degree where they were able to get pretty solid value on Matt Corral, the rookie quarterback out of Ole Miss. I did not like Matt Corral as a first-round quarterback. Coming out of Lane Kiffin's offense, I do have some concerns about how he can dissect and read defenses. He's a little bit raw and inexperienced up to this point, in my opinion. So I'm not sure he's ready to be a full-time starter in year one. He should really develop, which would help Carolina out in the long term. But is Sam Darnold the right quarterback for Matt Corral to be under? I don't think so. I think Garoppolo is a much better option as long as that shoulder checks out. We'll get to what Albert Breer said, but first, another reminder to subscribe to the channel. We need 1,267 new people to join the faithful family here at Chat Sports to get us to 60,000 subs. We're one of the most watched and the largest 49ers news and rumors channel on YouTube, also on Rumble, so make sure you subscribe by hitting that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49erstv. If you have a friend out there who's not familiar with what we do, news, rumors, all year round, videos 7 days a week throughout the calendar year, tell them about what we're doing and cooking up here on the 49ers Report. I guarantee you they will be fans of the 49ers Report. Okay, Albert Breer on Garoppolo. He kind of broke this down in a couple of ways. He said, so now that Ike Ekwonu's a Panther, the offensive tackle, who I think is going to be a stud, and Matt Corral is too, the team's first and second round picks for next year are intact. Carolina's first pick will likely start at left tackle, and its second pick in Matt Corral will compete with Sam Darnold to be the team's starting quarterback. Here's where it gets interesting now. And this is where Jimmy Garoppolo involves the conversation. Jimmy Garoppolo has entered the chat. The Panthers will still kick around the idea of adding a vet like Garoppolo, Baker Mayfield, or Nick Foles to the mix, but they're no longer in a desperate spot to do something. Now, the Panthers did not have second and third round picks in 2022 to send to the Niners in terms of draft compensation in a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. The draft is over and done with. We don't have to worry about it anymore. What we do have to worry about is moving forward with Trey Lance as this team starter and him not looking in the rear view at all times with Garoppolo breathing down his neck, because we know the locker room and the coaching staff, they really like Jimmy G. I think Trey Lance needs every single rep this offseason. He's going to get it either way because of that Garoppolo shoulder injury, but he doesn't deserve to have Garoppolo breathing down his neck. So if you can trade away Jimmy G for next year's draft compensation, that will make up for the Niners not trading Jimmy Garoppolo up to this point, because they overplayed their hands to a certain degree, and Garoppolo's shoulder injury certainly impacted his trade value. Prediction time. Before we get on out of here, appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us right here on the channel. Where will Garoppolo play this year? Let me know in the comments section, and make sure you subscribe. All right, so that's the latest on Jimmy Garoppolo as well as Deebo Samuel. I'm looking at the comment section, and people are like, that A.J. Brown deal, it kind of makes the Deebo Samuel contract somewhat doable. I totally agree with you, and I think if you're Deebo Samuel, you can get between $25 and $30 million per year. And if the Niners were to lowball him, I understand the frustrations, but I think this partnership, as I talked about, way too good to be severed at this point. Why Big Jordan Golden Corral over Trey Area? I disagree, man. Trey Lance, he's a much better quarterback with a lot more upside than Matt Corral, although that is pretty funny. Carolina from Johnny Robinson. Gregory Howe, 49ers for life, forget everything else. Matt Morris, the 100 emoji, love it. Either Panthers or the Niners from Joe Caterly. Panthers trolls are garbage from Ray. Hanif Razak is in the chat as always. So too is Johnny Robinson. Another reminder, after our show is done here on YouTube as well as Rumble, I'll be going live exclusively on the call-in app, where I'll be able to take all of your calls, not just your YouTube comments, your actual calls, as we'll be able to interact through the best digital and interactive podcasting app out there. Going to be doing a live podcast for the second time on the Call-In app right after the show is over, right around 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Make sure you tune in for that and keep it locked right here on the channel. Next up, mailbag time right here on the 49ers Report Live. Use the hashtag 49ers or super chat us. I saw a $10 super chat come in. We'll get to that during this mailbag. Just of note for you, Marshall. And if you want your questions answered through our mailbag, hashtag 49ers or super chat us. Either way, you'll be able to hop on board, join the show, and I'll answer as many questions as possible. So I see Raymond, Alejo, Tacky Wacky, Why Big Jordan in the chat right now. You guys have some great comments. There's no question about it, but you got to use the hashtag 49ers or super chat us for us to be able to filter through your questions, pop them up on the screen, and I'll be able to answer all of those. So mailbag coming up right around the corner. 215 people watching live, $12 in super chats, 109 likes. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you have a question for me for this upcoming mailbag, and we'll be doing two throughout today's show, another reminder, hashtag 49ers, better yet, super chat us. I know Hanif Razak, he's all over it. Some really good questions. I see we'll get to that question. Matt Morris, make sure you use the hashtag 49ers. And all of you watching, hashtag 49ers for your questions to be answered on the show. We ready to rock? All right, mailbag coming up next. Stay tuned for that. Welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. On today's show, I'm going to be answering all of your questions pertaining to all things Niners, news, rumors, draft, free agency, this upcoming season. So without further ado, let's kick it off with this $10 super chat from Trenton Rossi. I watched you through the entire Niners season, and it was certainly a blast. And this is why you subscribe to the channel by hitting that red subscribe button down below. We had 100,000 people join us on multiple watch parties last year. We're the largest 49ers channel on YouTube. Free daily videos covering all things Niners. That's why you subscribe, and mailbags as part of our shows as we go live every single Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Trenton, thank you so much for supporting everything that we do. Hitman L, is it going to be a good season? Look, I know a lot of people are doubting San Francisco up to this point. I'm not there. Why is that? Well, they were a Final Four team last year, and I think they're going to get better at the quarterback position. I think their offense is going to be more explosive. I understand that there are going to be some bumps on the road for Trey Lance. That's expected. Guy's 21 years old, somewhat inexperienced. He's going to have to work through those kinks. Luckily for him this offseason, even if Garoppolo's on the team, he underwent shoulder surgery. Not going to be able to throw until later in the summer. What does that mean? It means that Trey Lance is going to get every single rep throughout the offseason. So he's going to be able to work out some of those flaws. He's been working his ass off all throughout the summer. And then you look across the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball. There are premier players. There are a lot of people, because of this Deebo Samuel contract situation, saying the Niners are cheap. I disagree. I mean, Fred Warner is the second highest paid linebacker in the game. George Kittle, one of the highest paid tight ends in the game. Trent Williams, highest paid left tackle. Nick Bosa is going to get paid. The Niners spend for really good players. I think they're going to do the same with Deebo, and I think Deebo is going to be a big part of the Niners having another good season. They started the year 3-5. They ended last year with 10 wins. I think they can equal that win total, if not be better, this upcoming year, because I think they're going to upgrade at the quarterback spot. BK from the Bay, one of the bigger fans of the 49ers Report. Do you think the Niners will start Danny Gray this upcoming season? He's going to have to prove himself throughout training camp in the preseason. Kyle Shanahan is not really quick to tab rookies as starters. I think your wide receivers right now, let's say you start 3 of them, including George Kittle, the tight end, depending on what personnel package you go with. Deebo Samuel's your 1, Brandon Ayuk is your 2, and I think he's going to be a very good number 2. I think that's his projection long term, but I think he could be one of the better number 2s in the NFL. I think Jawan Jennings will be your taller wide receiver who can play out of the slot. He'll be your 3rd guy. And then you have a combination of maybe Danny Gray, Ray McLeod, and a couple of other guys at those receiver spots. We'll see if any of these UDFAs can crack the roster as well. But I expect 3 of those primary guys, Jennings, Ayuk, Deebo, to be your top 3 wide receivers, followed by Ray McLeod, a little bit of a gadget player, and maybe Danny Gray could take away some of those gadget snaps as well if he proves himself throughout the offseason. Speaking of Danny Gray and all 9 of the Niners draft selections, I want to hear from you. Who was your favorite Niners draft pick? I like Danny Gray the most. I'd probably go Drake Jackson number 2. You let me know your thoughts on the Niners draft in the comments section right now. Ellis 10, I believe the Panthers will still seek out Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, earlier in the week, Albert Breer said that the Panthers still kicking around the tires about a potential Jimmy Garoppolo trade, but not just Jimmy G is who they're interested in. It could be Nick Foles. It could be Baker Mayfield. I think Foles would be more of a backup for Carolina. I just can't envision a scenario in which they move forward with Sam Darnold as the starter, especially with Matt Rule on the hot seat, and who could be a good leader and a good guy to learn from. If you're Matt Corral, is it Sam Darnold? Is it Baker Mayfield? Is it Jimmy Garoppolo? I think it's Jimmy Garoppolo. Matt Corral, to me, is pretty raw. I know a lot of people are in the comment section saying Golden Corral better than Trey Lance. There's no chance. Trey Lance is by far the better prospect. He would have went probably number 1 in the draft this year if it wasn't for him declaring last year. I think the upside for Lance is astronomical, but let's hope that the Panthers do trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. This year, they didn't have second and third round picks. The draft is over and done with. Maybe they give up some of that draft compensation next year when they have those picks available. Hanif Razak, appreciate you for supporting the channel, man. You're always here on our shows. What are the chances that Deebo and Ayuk each get 1,000-yard receiving seasons and each get 7 touchdowns? Also, what are the chances that Brandon, I didn't see the latter part of that question, but I'll address the first part. You got cut off there a little bit. Yeah, 1,000-yard receivers, having 2 of them is a little bit rare. Deebo surpassed that mark last year in 2021 with the marvelous season that he put forward. Ayuk really didn't do anything the first month and a half, 2 months of the year. It was really that Chicago Bears game in Week 8 when Deebo and Ayuk started to get going. Ayuk got out of the Kyle Shanahan proverbial doghouse, and he had a really good year. He finished with close to 1,000 yards, and if he plays a full 17-game slate, could he get closer? Yes, but with a inexperienced quarterback, it's going to be a little bit tough. But Ayuk, Samuel, that's a really good receiving core at that 1-2 punch. If you're watching us during our live show, or if you're watching after the fact, once a week from here on out, we're going to be going live on Callin. It's an audio interactive podcasting app where I'll be able to take all of your calls. If you want to download the app and you're watching on your TV, tablet, computer, you can scan the QR code that we just showed you, or if you're watching on your mobile device or any other device, you just plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49ers Callin. Think Twitter Spaces, but even better. This app, absolutely awesome. You're able to hop into the caller queue. As evidenced by this picture to my right, I can see who's in line and hit that icon and bring you onto the show, and you can ask me anything about the San Francisco 49ers. So make sure when you go to chatsports.com/49ers Callin, you follow the 49ers Report. Therefore, we can chop it up and talk Niners year round. Why Big Jordan? Panthers versus the Niners this year. How much are the Panthers winning by? Hey, I know you're a Panthers fan. A lot of people are chirping at you in the comment section, and I do enjoy the playful beef. Niners are a better team. There's no question about that. Great 1765, who will be our safety with Jimmy Ward? I think it'd be wise to bring back Jaquiski Tartt. I think Tartt is coming off the best year of his career. He's only 30 years old. I still think he has gas left in the tank. I think he's a really good safety option who won't cost all that much money, coming off a really solid campaign. And I think that safety tandem of Ward and Tartt last year was one of the better tandems at that safety position in the NFL. Has familiarity with this defense, and with how deep this Niners defensive line is, they're going to get after the quarterback and generate a lot of pressure, making that secondary's job a lot easier. This Niners defense, they could be legit. WTP Niners, why don't they sign Jalen Hurd to the practice squad? Because he's hurt every single year, and he hasn't been able to play one regular season game in 3 years since he was drafted in the 3rd round out of Baylor. Simple as that. Tantalizing athlete, tantalizing size, got to be able to stay on the field because the best ability, as we know, is availability. Number 1, Grant fan. What if Lance gets hurt? If Lance gets hurt, Niners are kind of screwed. Now, as of right now, it'd be Jimmy Garoppolo as the backup quarterback, barring any trade. If Garoppolo gets dealt, if he gets let go, it would be Nate Sudfeld as the backup quarterback, or Mr. Irrelevant, picked with that last selection in the NFL draft at 262 in the legend Brock Purdy. Now, could they go to the free agency market to try to bring in a better backup quarterback? Maybe, but There was some language in that Sudfeld contract that points to him being the backup, maybe with Brock Purdy, who has a little bit of Nick Mullins in his game. That's what I said when he was drafted, and Kyle Shanahan said that after the fact. But if Lance gets hurt, you got to hope that it's, one, not for a long time, and two, Kyle Shanahan can work his magic a little bit. Daniel, how much money do you think the Niners can realistically save from all possible restructuring of player contracts? Who would you like for the Niners to add with that money saved? So if you restructure Jimmy Ward, Eric Armstead, maybe if you extend Jimmy Ward, you'd be able to free up some money. Obviously, if you move on from Garoppolo, that clears up $26 million off the cap. The Niners would go from being last in cap space to second. That's pretty significant. So I don't know if a Garoppolo move is going to happen. That's really the major one to free up a lot of money. Top free agents out there as of Tuesday, we're looking at like OBJ, Jadeveon Clowney, players of that regard. If you want free daily videos on the 49ers, make sure you hit that red subscribe button down below or plug in that link, youtube.com/49erstv. It's actually funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I took over the Niners Report during the NFL draft last year, so it's been basically exactly a year since I took over the channel. We've been able to grow it nearly 26,000 subs in a calendar year. It's been a blast to interact with all of you, the faithful getting down, and this Niners team, legendary over the course of NFL history. To be the face of the faithful, it's been absolutely awesome. Daniel Middleton, did you hear about Deebo liking something that John Lynch said? Yeah, so John Lynch went on KNBR and said, we are not trading away Deebo Samuel, and we envision him coming back to the team in 2022. The more I think about it and the more this transpires over time, I think Deebo is just doing a lot of these antics on social media because he wants a new deal, and he deserves to get paid. If he has no long-term security on his contract and he plays 2022 with the base salary of $3.9 million with the California taxes, a lot of that money's getting taken away, man. And he wants long-term security because the NFL stands for not for long, and he plays a bruising style of football. I understand why he wants a deal. Like any of us, when we negotiate with our bosses, we want more money on that next contract. Deebo, he ain't different than any of us. Tacky Wacky, Drake Jackson, the kid, is big and fast. Teams are going to have problems running the ball with him and Bosa. They're going to have trouble throwing the football as well, with Drake Jackson and Nick Bosa rushing the opposing quarterback. Jackson's sack numbers weren't crazy by any means. He had something like 5.5 sacks in 2021 with the USC Trojans, but his bend and the fact that a lot of the focus is going to be on Bosa, a lot of the double teams are going to go that way, and then the depth of the Niners defensive line, Drake Jackson, he has the ability to impact games as a rookie in year one. 2Plate661, do you think we have a chance this year? What do you think about Trey Lance? I think the Niners have a chance, man. They're coming off an NFC Championship game appearance in which they were a couple of plays away and a bad Garoppolo interception away from maybe driving down the field to win the NFC Championship game to get back to their second Super Bowl in 3 years. The Super Bowl window is open for this team right now. And anybody who doesn't believe that, I just don't know what you're seeing. This is a team with premier players on both sides of the ball. I think Kyle Shanahan learned a lot last year following that 3-5 start. He's a top 10 coach in the league, and I think the offense is going to be more explosive, less predictable with Lance at the helm. So I do think the Niners have a chance with Lance. Mahomes in his second year won MVP. Chiefs made it to the AFC Championship game. If D Ford wasn't offsides, yes, D Ford, the legend, Niner legend, Chiefs might have made it to the big dance. And in year two, Joe Burrow led the Bengals to the Super Bowl as well. So it has been done before. Before we hop on out of here for this mailbag, I want you to grade the 49ers roster after the 2022 NFL Draft. I think it's like a B roster, and that's good enough for you to go on a run in the playoffs. A, B, C, D, or F, you let me know in the comment section. Give you some shout outs here. More than 300 people watching live. For those of you just piling in, stay tuned. We're going to break down the top available free agents who the Niners can sign following the draft. A lot of big names out there and some good players who the Niners can get on some discounted prices. Also, after our live show on YouTube and Rumble, we're going live exclusively on Call-In, where you'll be able to call me if you go to chatsports.com/49ers call-in, download the app, make a profile, and we'll be able to chop it up. And we'll be able to speak to one another on the Call-In app. It's like Twitter Spaces, but even better. I know a lot of you don't even have Twitter. That's why you download the Call-In app by using that link down below. Right after our live show here on YouTube, we're going live exclusively on Call-In. 322 people watching live right now. You want to ask me questions? like a sports talk radio show with a live podcast? Let's do it. Let's chop it up, Niner gang. Chatsports.com/49ers call in. We'll be going live after our YouTube and Rumble show is complete. Why Big Jordan, great one, 765, all in the chat. Why Big Jordan, C+, Edson Dart, A- for the Niners draft. Fear the Mirror, B+, Joe Caterly, B for now. Guerrero also went B. 49ers roster is an A- from Hanif. Good stuff there. Why Big Jordan, B-. Byron McCants going with the B. Appreciate all of you for rocking and rolling with us right here on the channel. Ready to get to top free agents? Coming up right now on the 49ers Report, live on Rumble, live on YouTube, live as you watch us from all across the globe. Top free agents left following the NFL Draft. On today's show, we're going to take a look at the top available NFL free agents who the 49ers can go after the NFL Draft. They didn't address safety. They didn't address some of the other positions of need on this roster. And there are some really quality players left who the Niners can bring in to the Bay Area. Of course, you're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Jay Sr. If you like our content, make sure you subscribe. So we start off our top free agent list with Jadeveon Clowney. Has not been signed yet. I'm not sure he's the best scheme fit, but I think a player of this caliber can work in any scheme out there, whether it be 3-4 or 4-3. This guy just has an innate ability to get after the quarterback. Now, you might look at his career statistics and say, Jadeveon Clowney's never been a big sack number total guy. Yeah, that's technically true. Hasn't really surpassed double-digit sacks in a season, but this guy is a physical menace. You line him up opposite of Nick Bosa, this defensive line becomes even better and deeper. I do not, however, think this is all that realistic after the Niners went Drake Jackson in the second round, and they're about 2 or 3 deep across that defensive front for defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans. A free agent who does intrigue me, especially considering what's going on with Deebo Samuel right now. Whether Deebo's on the roster or not, would you take a swing on Odell Beckham Jr.? After he got dealt to the Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, he was awesome. A lot of people thought that he was washed with the Cleveland Browns. It turns out he needed competent quarterback play. He wasn't getting that with Baker Mayfield. He got that with Matthew Stafford, who had the highest passer rating among all quarterbacks in the fourth quarter last year. The concern with OBJ, he now has 2 ACL tears. He's rehabbing that ACL tear throughout this offseason. And I'm not sure he's going to be ready to start the year because he tore that ACL in February in the Super Bowl, but I think he still has some juice left, and OBJ, certainly a very special wide receiver who you can line up anywhere on the football field. Faithful, I want to hear from you. Would you sign Odell Beckham Jr.? I want you to hop into the comment section right now and type OBJ for yes or no BJ for no. He did it again! No BJ. You see what we did there? It's an inside joke here at Chat Sports that's been running for a really long time. Let me know if you'd ink OBJ to a contract by submitting your votes in the comments. Number 3. This actually does intrigue me. The thought of J.C. Tretter, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, a center, coming to the Bay Area. Why is that? We're not sure what's going to happen with Alex Mack moving forward. Is he going to retire? Is he going to come back for 2022? J.C. Tretter is a little bit older. He's been a little bit injury prone, but this guy is a very, very good center when he's healthy. Unsigned to this point, a little bit of a shock. He's still playing at a starting caliber role. I will say this about Tretter and one of the Niners UDFAs who I happen to really, really like, Donovan West, who's coming to the Bay as an undrafted free agent. Donovan West out of Arizona State is a perfect, and I mean perfect scheme fit. He's under 300 pounds. Doesn't matter in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He can get out in space on some of those pull blocks. And he played every interior offensive line position during his career at Arizona State. Watch out for him to possibly crack this roster and maybe even become the Niners starting center down the road. Couple of receivers to get to on this list. Julio Jones is a Kyle Shanahan favorite. Over the last couple of years, the injuries have gone up while the numbers have gone down. His last really, really good year came in 2019. We're a couple years removed from that. When he was with Kyle Shanahan, when Shanny was the OC with Atlanta, had the best 2 years of his career. But last year, 434 receiving yards. The year before that, 771. Missed some games the last 2 years. 2019, 2018, though, able to surpass well over the 1,000-yard receiving mark. I'm not really high on the prospects of Julio Jones because he's older and he's injury prone. So I want to ask you this question. Two wide receivers who have dealt with injury issues, and OBJ as well as Julio Jones. If you had to pick one to sign, who are you going with? Type O for OBJ, J for Julio Jones, a Kyle Shanahan favorite. Once again, I appreciate your feedback down below. We move forward. Darrell Williams, offensive tackle. Obviously, the Niners addressed offensive line pretty heavy throughout the draft, especially with Spencer Burford, the offensive tackle and guard out of UTSA. If an injury happens, though, Darrell Williams could get on the phone. Number 6, Melvin Ingram. Same point goes to Jadeveon Clowney. You stocked up. You stacked up that defensive line throughout draft and the free agency. So I don't think the Niners are really going to go defensive line, but of course it's a big name, good depth piece. If an injury happens, maybe they could reach out to Melvin Ingram. For George Kittle, obviously he's the tight end one. Opposite of that, Charlie Warner, Ross Dwelly, decent backup options. Niners did not draft a tight end in the NFL draft, and Rob Gronkowski is still available. I think all signs point to, if he does come back, going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But if he wanted to be a part of this offense and you need a depth piece, I certainly would think long and hard about it. Today's show presented to you by our presenting sponsor, Fanatics. 49ers jerseys available if you plug in that link at the bottom of your screen. Chatsports.com/49jersey. All types of colors and sizes available for multiple players. Hopefully Deebo Samuel returns to the Bay, so a lot of you who bought his jersey don't have to worry about never wearing it again, and he can be an all-time Niner great. Also some throwback jerseys available. Joe Montana, Joe Cool, as well as Jerry Rice, the GOAT of all wide receivers. I'm going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. It's chatsports.com/49jersey. Another offensive tackle, still free, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, Dwayne Brown. He's a good player, a little bit older. I know Russell Wilson really wanted him to get paid. He didn't really, coming off a down year, but can still start despite turning 37 years old before the season. This is really worst case scenario. Mike McGlinchey can't come back. These rookies are a bust. Maybe it goes up to training camp where you're like, we don't even have a tackle. Kind of like what the Bears did last year with Jason Peters, Dwayne Brown. I don't know if he's going to ink a contract for a little while, but certainly a name out there. Trey Flowers, defensive end, coming in at number 9. This guy has had a long and very successful career, but I think he's a little bit washed up to this point. Number 10, Anthony Barr, the linebacker. San Francisco, in my opinion, has one of the best linebacking cores in the National Football League with Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Azeez Al-Shire. Anthony Barr, pretty lukewarm on him because of the fact that the Niners are very stacked at that linebacking spot. Best NFL free agent still available right now. We're breaking down this list. Obviously, some superstar names, some guys who have their best days behind them. Give me a name in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you want free daily videos covering all of the latest 49ers news and rumors, the solution for that problem is easy and simple. You just have to hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/49erstv. We're halfway through this list, and Marsh, we can run through this back half pretty quickly. Kyle Van Noy, a linebacker. It's crazy how quickly his career dissipated. Signed that big deal with the Miami Dolphins only a couple of off seasons ago. Now still on the open market. Eric Fisher, offensive tackle, another really good player who certainly has stacked up the accolades. Good tackle, a little bit older, a little bit injury prone, but there's a reason why a lot of these guys are still available on the free agency market. They're either older, production has slipped, or they've dealt with a lot of injury issues. Akeem Hicks, very good defensive tackle. I think he can be a nose in a 3-4 scheme. He could play D-tackle in a 4-3. The Niners are a little bit thin at that D-tackle spot, especially considering that Javon Kinlaw coming off that torn ACL. I wouldn't mind hitting up Akeem Hicks and seeing what he's up to this offseason. Justin Houston, edge rusher, actually wasn't bad for the Baltimore Ravens last year. Very old guy, but he still continues to put out numbers, decent sack numbers, and get the job done. Could he help a playoff contender? I think he could. Jarvis Landry has not signed anywhere. I think he's been waiting to see where the dominoes fall. For him, I think it'd be wise to go back to Cleveland, team back up with the Browns, and catch some passes from Deshaun Watson, who I think when on the field is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think Jarvis Landry, who was injured a lot last year, production slipped a little bit, did not have good quarterback play, would immediately be a lot better if he did get good quarterback play, and I expect Deshaun Watson to bring that to the table as long as he's cleared medically. What is the most that you would pay Jarvis Landry per year? How much do you think he's worth? Exploding wide receiver market throughout this offseason. He is not up there with the upper echelon wide receivers in my opinion, but you let me know in the comments. Number 16, Dante Hightower, linebacker. Yeah, again, you don't really need linebackers, but we're simply looking at the top free agents still available, and injuries always come into play where you have to reach out to a Josh Norman or a Drake Kirkpatrick. Joe Hayden. Before the draft, I would have said, okay, I kind of like that idea, but you go with Samuel Womack in the draft, you get Tariq Castro-Fields. I think the value on both of those players was absolutely excellent. The same can be applied for Bryce Callahan. At this point, does he play outside? Does he play inside? Did some good stuff with the Denver Broncos, but I would pass on that. Jerry Hughes, edge rusher, surprisingly let go by the Buffalo Bills, and that's why he has not been signed just yet. I still think he can play. I still think he can put up some solid numbers, but once again, the Niners, among all teams in the NFL, I honestly believe this, they might have the most stacked defensive line in the National Football League. Lastly, I talk about the Niners being somewhat thin at that D tackle spot. They are. Now, are they expecting, Hassan Ridgeway to get a lot of snaps? Are they expecting Javon Kinlaw to come back right away off that ACL surgery? Are they going to continue to go with Eric Armstead at D tackle? That's something worth monitoring. Ndamukong Suh, very, very good player. 5 bonus players left who we'll run through here. Emmanuel Sanders, Will Fuller, Nick Foles, Mike Davis, and Antonio Brown. I have to be honest with you, Nick Foles as a backup quarterback for Trey Lance, it's not a terrible idea. Like, are you sold that Nate Sudfeld is that cat? I'm really not. So Nick Foles as a backup quarterback, Jekyll and Hyde career. Honestly, one of the most fascinating careers among any quarterback to ever grace the field in the history of the NFL. Super Bowl MVP, was miraculous on that Eagles Super Bowl run. Anytime he's rocked an Eagles uniform, he's been great. Any other team, he's been bad. As for Antonio Brown, I know a lot of people have hit me up and said, Chase, could use some wide receiver depth to a certain degree. Antonio Brown, he can certainly still play. So because so many have asked me about Antonio Brown, I have to hit on AB. Looks as though he's more focused on rapping now than he is football, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I worry about that dude in between the ears, man. Something doesn't seem right. He's gone off the rails a little bit. I think the last image that we're going to see of him in an NFL uniform is him at MetLife, running off the field like this. Absolutely crazy. Kind of like what Draymond Green did last night, or the other night, I should say, against the Memphis Grizzlies. But AB, no way. He also is hurt right now and said, I'm not returning unless I get a contract. Then I will get that foot operated on. I thought that was weird. No chance on Antonio Brown. Grade the 49ers roster for me following the NFL draft as free agency going to start to pick back up a little bit. I mean, we saw Tyrann Mathieu sign with the New Orleans Saints this week. Let me know in the comments section, and thanks so much for supporting the 49ers report. It's facts. Getting to your comments here. Great 1765, Spy Gang, you right. 330 people watching live right now. Make sure you stay tuned. Another mailbag coming up. Then after our YouTube and Rumble show, we're going to be going live exclusively on Call-In for a live podcast where I take all of your calls. So I don't get to just interact with you through messages on YouTube as well as Rumble. Get to field all of your calls on the Call-In app. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Hugo, Chase, what up? What up, my guy? Byron McCants, B. Thomas Wallace, B. Mark Majesty, A-. Matt Williams, A-. Just giving you shout-outs for all of you supporting the show and grading the Niners roster right now. Byron McCants, B+. If you haven't subscribed, do so right now for the best and most elite 49ers coverage on YouTube. 160 likes right now. Got to get to 200 over the next couple of minutes. What'd you say? Cool. Yep. Mike Jew, Christopher Luce, Norman Bannister. Remember, going live on Call-In after our live show on YouTube and Rumble. First up, though, another Niners News and Rumors mailbag where I take all of your 49ers-related questions. Here on the 49ers Report, we're pushing out free daily videos, and we're approaching 60,000 subscribers, a monster milestone here on YouTube. If you want free daily videos covering all things Niners news and rumors year-round with the best coverage during the season, during the offseason, NFL draft, as well as free agency, hit that red subscribe button. And with that, let's answer your questions for this upcoming mailbag right here on the channel. We start this mailbag with this question coming in from Great1765. How many touchdowns do you see Trey throwing for this upcoming season? I projected his numbers back a couple weeks ago. I think if Trey lands here in his first year as a starter, and let's hope that he's the starting quarterback this year and it's not Jimmy Garoppolo, if he can throw for 20 touchdowns and run for like 7 more, I think it's a pretty good season. First year as a starter, combining for like 27, let's say 30 touchdowns, be a really good year. And keep in mind, Kyle Shanahan, that outside zone scheme, he loves running the football. And I think this Niners offense, especially with what they did in the NFL draft, they're going to be a physical, downhill, running offense that could really beat opponents up. That's something to keep an eye out for. And, of course, if they run the football to great degrees of success, that would certainly impact Trey Lance's numbers. All that matters at the end of the day, his development, his confidence, and the win-loss column. Edson Dart next up. You can't make a deal if Deebo don't pick up the phone. Yeah, and I think that Deebo Samuel and San Francisco are going to come to an agreement at some point on a contract extension. I think the A.J. Brown extension with the Philadelphia Eagles is actually good news for Deebo because I think that he can go to the negotiating table and he can get something in the neighborhood of what A.J. Brown got. Once that extension kicks in, he gets $25 million per year. There's some guaranteed money there that I think is appealing to Deebo and his camp. I think Deebo can land that type of bag. Tassie or Tassie, hopefully I pronounced it right one of the 2 times. Will Mitchell be ready when the season starts, coming back from his knee injury? Yes, he got a minor cleanup procedure on his knee. It bothered him a little bit last year. He also said he's put on more weight going into year 2 to deal with the rigors and the physicality of the National Football League. He's expected to be ready by training camp and this season. The answer to that question is yes. WTP Niners, when are we going to see Trey Sermon? So what's interesting is that for the second consecutive year, San Francisco went running back in round 3. That's why a lot of people don't like that Ty Davis Price pick in the 3rd round, because last year in 2021, they went Trey Sermon with that 3rd round pick. Now, I think both are similar running backs, and I think when the Niners evaluate and scout backs, they don't want backs like a LaShawn McCoy or a Saquon Barkley who dance in the hole. They want one-cut runners who see the hole and they attack it. That's what Ty Davis Price brings to the table. In addition to bringing the thump and the boom, he has so much physicality to his game, and I really, really like the physical component to his game and the fact that he can identify the hole, hit it, and he doesn't have pull-away speed by any means, but he'll run your ass over. Boom! What's the biggest need for the 49ers? Let me know right now following the NFL draft. Another inside joke here at Chat Sports. Willie Bet, shout out to you. A great, and I mean great new addition. He is a come in first, leave last type of guy. Can't say that about anybody. What's the biggest need for San Francisco? Boom! Let me know in the comment section right now. Matt Williams, how do you feel about how the O-line is coming along? Going into the draft, I was certainly a little bit concerned. And look, it is hard to project what offensive linemen can be going from college to the pro game. Spencer Burford, he was great at UTSA, thrived at tackle, played very well at guard. Does that translate? Does Zach Eckert translate as well? Does a Donovan West UDFA signing ending up being a good one for San Francisco? I think he could be a very, very good center down the road. I was shocked he didn't get drafted. A lot of teams just don't prioritize centers in the draft, unlike the Baltimore Ravens, who went Tyler Linderbaum in round 1. I thought that was a smart pick. Why? Because I think Linderbaum can play and be effective like a Jason Kelce type for the next 7 to 10 years. Next question coming in from Garcia Brothers. Garcia Brothers, what it do? Chase, do you think Deebo Samuel is the reincarnation of Jerry Rice? I don't. He's a different player. He's a different breed, different type of skill set. Deebo is a do-it-all type of player who isn't the natural wide receiver that Jerry Rice is. And Jerry Rice, when I was a kid, that's what helped me fall in love with the game of football, I popped in a VHS tape. And it was video of Jerry Rice working out in the offseason in the desert hills of California, running hills, working on his stamina and his footwork. And I was like, Jerry Rice is the GOAT, and I still maintain that belief. Jerry Rice is the best wide receiver in the history of the game, in my opinion. Sure-handed, great route runner, excellent speed. The numbers during an era in which teams didn't always prioritize passing the football were absolutely great. If you love the 49ers, and you're still watching our mailbag right here on the channel, this is what I want you to do. Get into the comment section and type faithful. The Niners, reppin' San Francisco, Niner Empire, type faithful right now. Hugo, what's good, my guy? If Deebo was to get traded, what do you think he will be able to do under another coaching staff? The coaching staff at the Niners made it possible for him to be as great as he is. So go onto my Twitter page at Chase_Senior, and I explained this during a show this week talking about Deebo Samuel. He's perfect for San Francisco, and San Francisco is perfect for Deebo Samuel. I love my job here at Chat Sports. I can't imagine being anywhere else. Everything about my job is perfect. Why would I want to leave? They put me in a position to succeed, and I think I give back to the company and I add value here. The same can be said for Deebo Samuel. If you watching right now are in a great professional position, you're making good money, you're surrounded by good coworkers who you like working with as well as going out with, and your bosses are supportive of what you do, as long as you're making solid money and you're not getting disrespected by that next salary conversation, then why would you leave that gig for the unknown? Because the grass ain't always greener. Now, if the 49ers disrespected Deebo with that contract extension offer, then of course he has the right to be frustrated. But they have to find a way to make it work. And I think the Niners want to, based on everything that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have had to say over the last couple of weeks. EJ Redemption, get PJ Walker. Look, I went to Temple University. While I was there, I was watching Temple football. PJ Walker is a good backup quarterback. I think he's still under contract with Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. I certainly have to check up on that. But PJ Walker in the XFL was awesome, man. And at Temple University, had the luxury of watching all of his games because I did play-by-play in color and, got an opportunity to interview him a few times. His path has been great, and I think he's a very viable second, probably better third-string quarterback. Michael Fernandez, $10 super chat, just sending in a super chat sticker. Michael Fernandez, throughout our live coverage last weekend during the NFL draft, appreciated all of your super chats, and I appreciate that one as well, allowing me to eat dinner tonight. Lucius, I got to find a way to pronounce your name right. I think you DM me on Twitter at some point. Either way, apologies if I continue to butcher it. Nick Foles is a great backup. If there was a backup quarterback to be a starter for a season, it would be Foles. Absolute stud and winner. I agree. If you're watching this live, that's what I said during our live show. I'd take a waiver on Nick Foles. And I think when he's been with a good coaching staff like he was with Philadelphia and the offense is catered to what he does well, he can put up numbers, and he can have some good games. Now, he's been a backup for a reason because it's very hot and cold. Some games, he'll light the opposing defense on fire. Other games, he can't complete a simple out route, but with a good coaching staff, he could play pretty well. That's what Kyle Shanahan could help him with. John Wallace, my guy, what's good, brother? Jerry always will be San Francisco. 49er faithful, how do you think we fare defensively after the draft? So you're talking about Jerry Rice being the number one wideout. I totally agree with that. How do I think the defense will do? I think the defensive line could be one of the best, if not the best in the NFL. You already have one of the best receiving cores. The secondary is solid, and I think all you need is for the secondary to be solid because you're getting a bunch of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And I always say this, man, if they don't have time to throw, if they don't have time to go through their progressions and pick apart defenses, it doesn't matter what's going on in that secondary if that quarterback is on his ass. Daniel Middleton, Ty Davis-Price is my favorite draft pick. Look, going into the draft, I thought, okay, and I had a mock to the Niners once or twice. So, too, with Danny Gray. Call me the genie. Fourth, fifth, sixth round would have been cool with Ty Davis-Price. Going running back, third round, back-to-back years, I didn't really understand it. You watch the film. I like it. Nearly 6 yards per carry after halftime last year with LSU on a down LSU team. Kyle Shanahan, he loves those one cut runners, who are able to see the hole, hit the hole very, very quickly. TDP is that guy, and I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with TBP. Follow me on Twitter at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on Instagram as well. Always love chopping it up with the faithful, with the Niner gang. Here at Chat Sports, I cover the NFL as a whole as I appear on a bunch of our channels. Of course, I cover the 49ers Report. One of the primary duties that I have, cover the NBA as well as college football. And right now, good opportunity to chop it up and talk some NBA. So make sure you give me a follow at Chase_Senior. Appreciate all of the support in advance. Okay, in just a few moments, we will be going live exclusively on Callin. So make sure you plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49ers Callin, to join us on the Callin app. Think Twitter Spaces, but even better, we're going to put the shot clock up here momentarily and go live exclusively on Callin. We'll go live on Callin for a couple of minutes here on YouTube and field some of your calls. So once again, I want to see everybody watching right now join us on the Callin app. It's really, really cool. Here on YouTube, we're able to, see your questions, pop them up on the screen with our fancy graphics packages. But on the Callin app, you can actually call into the show and we can chop it up talking all things Niners. So the link is in the chat right now for our live show, and you can also plug in that link at the bottom of your screen. So make sure you join us. Chatsports.com/49ers Callin. About to go live on the Callin app. I'll take a couple of questions right here on YouTube, and then I hope all of you join us exclusively on the Callin app, a live interactive podcasting app, which is like Twitter Spaces, but even better. So the link down below, it's also in the chat right now for our live show. I am actually going to tweet out the link right now as we go live here momentarily. So just give me a few moments. Still a lot of people watching live right now. Appreciate all of your support. And I'm going to tweet out the call-in link here. I'm actually just going to start the room, and we're going to start it here. Get my headphones set up. Then we'll go live exclusively on Callin. I hope all of you watching actually join us on the Callin app. I'm starting it right now, Marsh. So going live exclusively on Callin here in just a few moments. And we can talk all things NFL draft, free agency, Niners news, and Niners rumors. Just give me a few moments here. For all of you watching live, about to go live on Callin, where I can take all of your questions. So make sure you hop into the caller queue once we do get started, and I'll be able to answer all of your questions on the app. And we're not going to do the whole show live on YouTube. We'll take a couple of questions on Callin, then we'll go live exclusively. We'll take a couple of questions on YouTube, then we'll go live exclusively on Callin. So I'm about to start the room here. Okay, so we're officially live on Call-In. I'm going to tweet out the link right now. So for those of you behind the scenes here at Chat Sports, the link is out for the Call-In app. So for those of you who want to hop on board and join the show, we already have a couple of people listening live. Shout out to James, Zach, Edgar, Luciano. We're going to put the link for our Call-In show into the chat right now, and I hope all of you click that to join the show so that we can talk all things 49ers. Brett is also listening to us here on the 49ers Report on Call-In. I see D is piling in as well. So too is Luciano. Dave is here. Sam is also joining us on Call-In. Feel free to hop into the caller queue. We'll answer a couple of questions right here on YouTube as well as Rumble. Then we'll shut off the YouTube and Rumble stream, and we will go live exclusively on Call-In. We can talk all things 49ers news and rumors. So I see Brian is waiting in the caller queue. I'm going to make you the next caller. Brian, you're listening to the 49ers Report live here on Call-In. Make sure you hit that microphone button to unmute yourself. And once you do that, you can ask away with any questions that you have pertaining to the Niners. So hop on board, Brian. What's up, man? Great. I appreciate you hopping on board here. What's going on? No question. It's a great question. I appreciate you listening to the show here on Call-In, Brian. That's fantastic. Now, for those of you watching on YouTube, you see the countdown clock. We're going to be going live exclusively on Call-In in a little north of 4 minutes, so make sure you join the show. The link is in the chat right now if you want to hop on board and ask me questions just like Brian. And I thought Brian made a couple of good points, and he asked a really good question. If Jimmy Garoppolo, one, didn't have a shoulder surgery, I think his trade market would have been a lot better than it actually is right now, because this guy has won 70% of his games. He helped lead the Niners to 2 NFC championship games over the span of 3 years, and he's a quality starting quarterback in this league. I'd put him about middle tier, right below the Derek Carr types. Now, he's not going to wow you with his athleticism as well as his arm strength, but Garoppolo brings a lot of intangibles to the table, and I thought last year he was very solid when it came down to 2-minute drills as well as performing well late in games. But the fact that he is an off-injured quarterback, he had to get that shoulder surgery on his throwing shoulder. He can't throw until about July when teams are already deep into training camp. That alone impacted his trade value because he's already been an off-injured quarterback in this league and doesn't have that bazooka for an arm. And then also on top of that, there was so much quarterback movement this offseason, Brian, that also impacted Garoppolo's trade market. I don't think a lot of people envision that Russell Wilson was going to get traded, that Deshaun Watson was going to get cleared legally, that Carson Wentz was going to be able to fetch a third-round pick, going from the Indianapolis Colts to the Washington football team. There was so much quarterback movement that took place this offseason, and I think the Niners, for a couple of factors, overplayed their hand a little bit. I think while that is true, Garoppolo not getting that shoulder surgery late and not even telling the team about that shoulder surgery impacted his trade value. And then all of that quarterback market movement kind of threw a wrench into the plan. So that's a good question from Brian. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, the link for our live show on Call-In is in the chat right now. We're going to be live for about 2 minutes left here on YouTube, then go live for a half hour exclusively on Call-In, answering all of your questions. So for those of you watching us on YouTube, the link is in the chat to join our live show. Brian, you got anything else? Unmute yourself if so. Yeah, no, that's a good question as well. And I really wanted to get to the other stuff that you had asked first that I kind of forgot about that backup quarterback question. I'm a little bit concerned going into the year about the backup quarterback situation. Now, if Garoppolo is the backup for Trey Lance, then I actually think he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league, right? I just don't want to pay $26 million to a backup quarterback. As for Nate Sudfeld, I think Kyle Shanahan really likes him. When he was in Philadelphia, he was a part of a really good quarterback room that included Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Nate Sudfeld. He had Doug Peterson as his head coach and Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator with John DeFilippo as his quarterbacks coach, and they raved about Nate Sudfeld. They loved him there. And when he signed that contract this offseason, there's language in that contract with some guaranteed money there that points to the Niners wanting to move forward with him as your backup. I personally don't like that idea. I think he lacks arm strength. He lacks consistency. I think Brock Purdy, who the Niners took in the 7th round, could be a decent backup quarterback over time. Reminds me a little bit of Nick Mullins, but I'm not sure how much he'd be able to contribute right away. And if he had to contribute, if Trey Lance got injured, you have an inexperienced quarterback in Trey, who's only 21 years old, right? And then you have a rookie quarterback as your potential backup in Brock Purdy if Nate Sudfeld doesn't work out. And even Sudfeld doesn't have that much experience either. Appreciate that question. I see so many people who are tuned into the show. We're going to go live exclusively on Call-In D. When we do that, you'll be next up, so stay in the caller queue. If any of you have questions about the Niners, hop into the caller queue. For the next about 30 minutes, I'm going to be taking all of your calls on Call-In. We're going to shut the stream off here on YouTube. For more than 200 people watching live on YouTube as well as Rumble, you see that link down below. Also, the show link is in the chat. Make sure you join us live, exclusively on Call-In, coming up right now, where we can chop it up and talk all things Niners.